Hello, BookTube. Welcome back to Please Read Your Book. My name's Carl, and in this video, I've got the latest from Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. It's Where the Body Was. All right, so Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, to me, probably right now the best crime writing in comics. Maybe not the top crime writing, but I think maybe number 2 or number 3 just in terms of actual storytelling and writing. But definitely the best for me in crime writing comics. A couple months ago, I finished Kill or Be Killed and absolutely loved it. I think probably the best Brubaker and Phillips that I've read. I haven't read everything by them, but I haven't read anything I didn't like either. So what I want to say too is I think what makes them so good is that they have this ability to always have sort of a fresh take on their stories without losing readers. They don't deviate too far from the genre that they're working in, but they always find new twists and new ways to tell their stories. And what's even better is that the stories are always character driven, and Where the Body Was definitely continues with that. So I guess before I go any further, I need to say that I got a copy of this as a advanced reader copy from NetGalley, which is a service I've started using to I use it just to try to find books and authors that other people aren't reading about and that I think are more interesting. Ironically, Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips are very popular, and this popped up as a recommendation to me. I was blown away that I could get this. I requested it. I was very surprised to get it because I'm not a big reviewer on YouTube. Obviously, I have almost no following on YouTube. I don't have a big impact on Goodreads or anything like that, but I did get a copy of it. I'm sure many of you could also get your hands on a copy of it too. They sent me a digital copy of it, which has sort of timed, I had to enter a code to unlock it, and it had an expiration date on it. It's already expired. I actually read it a few weeks ago. So I wasn't able to get screenshots of it or anything like that. And of course, I will be buying it because it's that good. So, on to the story. So Where the Body Was, this is set in the 80s on Pelican Road, which seems to kind of be a sort of any place in America. And it's not really the road so much as there's a particular house on the road. And the story introduces this really fascinating cast of characters that spans quite a long period of time. I mean, it stretches back into the 60s, and then it jumps into the 80s, and then maybe the 90s or 2000s are present. We're not exactly sure when. And it's this cast of characters that either live in the house or interact with someone in the house or come across the house in some way or are called to the house, like there's a police officer. And then the people who so it's like these people that kind of orbit around this house. And it really tells the story is really more about these people's lives around this house. And it's hard to tell about the characters without giving twists and things away. And part of the reason for that is that this is a single volume book. Normally Brubaker and Phillips will write 3 or 4 volumes or even more and tell a very big story, and therefore when you talk about it you can talk about parts of that story without giving away twists and the ending and things like that. But this one is really tight, and so that's a little different for them. And I think, again, that goes back to what I said, where they always kind of find a new way to tell stories. This one is very tight and it's really fast paced. You need to read everything in here. There's no fluff. There's no side plots and subplots and things like that. When you're reading it, you're not exactly sure about that because it takes quite a while to get to the body that is referred to in the title. And it takes a while to get to the murder, and it takes a while to figure out exactly what's happened. But when you get to that point, you realize, like, well, that's the way that the story is, and it has to go that way, and that each character has a very important and integral part in that. So it's a very tightly woven story, very fast paced. You can read it all in one sitting. I think I read it in less than 2 hours or something like that. It's really amazing. It's really good. Of course, artwork, amazing. Sean Phillips, great artist, great comic artist. I love the way that he is able to depict the internal state of characters through facial expressions and through implied movement. And I love also the way that with his coloring and choice of framing of the scenes and the shots are very cinematic. That's why I kind of use those words. But it also helps tell the story without having to have excessive narrative added to the panels. So it's really, really just fantastic stuff. I think this is one of the reasons why I think that it's one of the best duos going in terms of writer-artist in comics. So like the narrative is very authentic. It tells some actually very touching stories. I was really touched by this, the cop who's having the affair and falls in love with this woman he's having an affair with, and he's also wondering and questioning, like, am I just fun for her as like an escape to get away from her husband, or am I her way out of that relationship? And then she's going to dump me because he doesn't want that. He wants to continue on with her. So that was a very interesting part of the story. There's also a couple of drug users who have a very touching story. That's a major part of that too, and that's done really, really, really well. And I think that's one of really the strengths of Ed Brubaker, and it really comes through in this novel. And I was surprised that it came through so strongly. What I'm referring to is his exploration of the internal struggles of the characters and how, in many ways, that eclipses the narrative. And you can do that with longer books and with longer comics where you've got multiple volumes to work with. But they're able to do it in a very tightly compressed story. And I think it's just a testament to how they're able to work together in sync between telling this compelling story and also illustrating and drawing it. So, just a great book. If you're not onto Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, it's definitely time to get onto them. If you are interested, or if you like crime writing and crime fiction and you're looking for some news stories, you may be feeling like you're kind of maybe tired of reading the older sort of classic writers, definitely check these guys out because they're able to tell kind of pulpy stories in very contemporary ways that are really satisfying and I think just fantastic. I can't say enough good stuff about it. So I think this could be a good entry point if you're curious about them. But be aware that they normally don't write these standalone stories. They usually write much, much longer stories. So nothing but good things to say about this. It's Where the Body Was, Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. Again, just another absolutely great entry from them into crime fiction, crime comics, crime writing. Good stuff all around. So once again, this has been Please Read Your Book. My name's Carl, and I hope to see you again soon.